So we've compared some of Steinberg's bass amps with Korg's bass amps, and we've also compared some of Steinberg's cabinets with Korg's cabinets, but we haven't compared the amps and cabinet pairings together. So let's do that right now. We have a David Eden emulation. It's called Paradise with Steinberg, and that's automatically paired with a 4x10. Similarly, we have the gold panel, which is the David Eden emulation by Korg, and that is recommended to be paired with the modern 4x10. So let's listen to what it sounds like with Steinberg's emulation first. Let's bypass that and check out what Korg's sounds like. They sound pretty similar, actually, but in order for me to get them to sound similar, I had to take down the treble just a bit in Steinberg's and then actually boost everything on the highs with Korg's. Let's move on to another pairing. We have the Valve, which is an Ampeg emulation with the 8x10. And then again, we have a Valve, which is the same emulation by Korg, and that's meant to be paired with the classic 8x10. I like that there is consistency between what each producer recommends you pair their amps with. So let's listen to Steinberg's first. So a lot of low end, but the highs are kind of rolled off. Let's listen to Korg's. Yep, I definitely don't need that much high end in order for it to sound similar. And again, let me listen to Steinberg's. Actually, I dipped too much highs. Whoa, let's turn it on first. Kind of similar, kind of different. So all in all, I actually don't think that the emulations sound that much like each other. You can get in the ballpark of a sound, but honestly, these emulations sound pretty different. There is, of course, a vague semblance between them, but again, I do think there is a lot more detail and accuracy with the VST bass amp rack. Now I want to talk about programming the bass amp Model Plus cabinet. Even though I have concluded that the VST bass amp with its amps and cabinets are better, it stands to reason that a more experienced engineer will get a better sound out of Korg's emulations than they would out of Steinberg's. When starting off with this unit, I would put all of the tone dials at 50. It gives yourself the option to either boost or cut later on. Similarly, keep the mid-range at 2, since that's the middle of 0 and 4. And even though the position of the mid-range band will change depending on the bass amp type, it's just a matter of giving yourself the option to either move up or down from your starting position. I would bypass the cabinet simulator and then flip through the bass amp models until you find one with the proper amount of distortion that you like. Again, I would make a list of how you're hearing the saturation from each unit. Having a list that is ordered from the least to most amount of saturation can give you kind of a ballpark idea of what you want to go for. So instead of flipping through the list in order, I'm just going to do it by the way Korg organized them. So I'm just going to go from the first one down to the last one. And let's boost the signal so we can actually hear it. I like the way classic sounds. Let's just go with that. Once you've found the bass amp that you like, let's turn on the cabinet simulator and start flipping through the cabinets. I like the way studio sounded. Now you're going to want to mess with your tone controls. The reason I say do this third is because you are not going to necessarily know how the cabinet simulator will change your sound and how you're going to want to compensate for that change later on. So let's see. Lacking in highs. So let's boost the treble. Actually, you know what? Before boosting the treble, I actually want to turn it all the way down. I want to set which frequency band my mid-range is focused on. So let's do that. I think 3 is what I'm going to want to stick with. Let's hear what the highs are boosting. So I could actually go more down with this since the highs are kind of taking up a fair range. I like the way 3 sounds. And now let me adjust the bass. So this is an important step. Right now, let me see where I'm peaking at with the dry signal. -21. Let's turn it on. Actually, -21. Wow. So let's kind of play a little diddly and see how it sounds. Versus off. I still like the high end of the original. So I'm going to mess with that a bit. Sounds pretty good. So that's my basic methodology for going about programming this thing. To recap, set all your dials at 0, set your mid-range at 2, turn off your cabinet simulator, flip through the types, turn on your cabinet simulator and find one that you like, then adjust your tone controls. For a final touch, you can adjust the dry-wet. This unit does not cause any latency, so it won't affect the tone. However, if you do put the dry-wet at 50-50, the bass frequencies will probably be louder since you're piling them on top of each other. Actually, it doesn't sound that bad in this case. Let's see what this sounds like. Let's kind of flip through dry-wet. Yeah, if I'm going to put any dry in there, maybe like 8 to 10%. Yeah. Nah, I think I might want to just leave it on wet. So yeah, that's that.